This is Travel Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, we present you with another incredible country. Today, we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Somalia. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get informed. Hello Aluxers and welcome back to our channel. It's great to have you here with us today on another video about countries. Today we're spinning the globe all the way to Africa and making a stop in Somalia. Somalia is a country located on the Horn of Africa. The country faced civil war and extreme poverty over the past decades, and still fights with lots of political and economic issues. Their close vicinity to the Middle East has put them at risk for oil exploitation in the area, and right in between the conflict zone with Yemen or Iran. Tourist areas should be safe to visit, but always check with your Minister of External Affairs and do your research. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. With that being said, let's dig into this controversial country and see what is good, what is bad, what's true, and what we can learn from it. Here are 15 things you didn't know about Somalia. Number 1. Even though it's part of Africa, Somalia is a Muslim country. Most countries in Africa and Asia have not adopted Christianity or other major religions. They still have a lot of native African tribes that practice their own individual religions and praise their own gods. Due to its vicinity to the Middle East, however, Somalia has had a lot of Arabic influences and has adopted Islam as an official religion. In Somalia, over 95% of the population is Muslim under the Sunni branch of Islam. Being the official religion of the country, it dictates a lot of the rules and restrictions the country has, such as not eating pork meat or the obligation for women to cover their faces with veils. Number 2. In Somalia, women still endure genital mutilation. Unlike modern countries where women have stronger rights and more control over their own bodies, in Somalia this sadly rarely happens. There are a lot of cases throughout Africa where women are mutilated so they can't feel sexual pleasure or attract other men, and Somalia is unfortunately no exception, with extreme Islamic views having a lot of influence on the matter. Somalia has one of the highest rates of female genital mutilation in the world, but the country is now under UNICEF's pressure, and they will hopefully end this torture as soon as possible. Some girls suffer this procedure at very young ages, between 11 and 12. In efforts to stop this, the Ministry of Women's Affairs and Human Rights wants to pass a law that will put an end to the practice. Number 3. Homosexuality is punishable by death in Somalia. Unfortunately, even though we live in a modern world, people still haven't accepted that not everyone has the same sexual orientation. There are some initiatives on the matter, but not enough. Homosexuality still faces stigmas around the world due to religion and the preconceptions that only a man and a woman can be in a relationship. In Somalia, homosexuality is punishable by death. It is a very extreme decision, but if a judge believes that imprisonment is not enough, he can sentence the defendant to death. In Somalia, sexual orientation falls under a criminal law, and at first it comes with imprisonment for 3 to 5 years. Number 4. Somalia didn't have an effective government for 17 years. Somalia might be a country that has endured war and instability the most. Between 1991 and 2006, the country was in civil war and had no effective government the whole time. Large areas of the country were internationally unrecognized and administered as autonomous regions of Somalia, while forces in the northwest declared the Republic of Somaliland. Due to this harsh situation, Somalia had been cited many times as a real-world example of a stateless society and a country with no formal legal system for more than 10 years. Now that the civil war has ended, the country is slowly recovering and some cities started to develop, expand, and adopt more modern technologies. But due to its proximity to Saudi Arabia, the country is still not fully at peace. Number 5. Abdirashid Duale is one of the few multi-millionaires of Somalia. Somalia is known to have some of the most entrepreneurial people in Africa. Abdirashid Duale is the CEO of Dahabshil, an international fund transfer company headquartered in Dubai. He took the business from his father, and nowadays he owns the only company that transfers money to and from Somalia. Now, at 40 years old, he runs the entire company and employs more than 2,000 people worldwide. In 2016, his company had revenues of $1 billion. The company also operates a leading commercial bank in Somalia and owns 95% of mobile telecoms from Somtel. Aside from that, he owns property in London, Dubai, and Hargeisa. Number 6. There's an Al-Qaeda affiliate in Somalia. Having had such a long civil war and so many unrecognized autonomous regions, Somalia is the perfect place for an international organization to train, hide, and recruit people. Being a part of the Islam countries, it proved to be the perfect place for Al-Qaeda forces. For the past decade, they've been fighting with African troops and U.S. forces. There are still armed attacks and terrorist actions happening in Somalia as we speak, and they even kidnap children in order to train them and use them as soldiers. Number 7. Somalia took down a UAE plane and seized $9.6 million. Being so close to Saudi Arabia and the whole Middle East conflict, Somalia is stuck in between influences. Africa is starting to receive more and more help and guidance from the West, but Arabic culture has been there long before and still plays a major role. But even though Somalia theoretically has a good relationship with the whole peninsula, it seems like they can't be trusted. Recently, they shot down a UAE plane and seized $9.6 million from it. After the incident, UAE declared that all military help were to be seized and that all measures would be taken to prevent this from happening again. They pissed off the rich guys. I guess we'll have to see how this unfolds for them. Number 8. They're at war with Kenya over borders and oil. Another conflict that rocks Somalia is the one between them and their neighboring country, Kenya. They share a decent part of the shoreline and can't decide where the border begins and where it ends. Of course, there's much more to the story than it seems. Can you guess what it is? Yes, oil. A narrow triangle off the coast of Africa of approximately 100,000 square kilometers is the root of the issue between the two countries, since the area supposedly has a large deposit of oil and gas. The diplomatic tensions between them have risen lately, but let's hope they can keep it peaceful. If the tensions go on and armed forces get involved, we'll face another war zone in Somalia. Number 9. A young Somali boy made electric toys out of trash. In spite of the low literacy rate, the extreme poverty in some areas, and the tensions between people in Somalia, they work to rise above the issues and become an example. A young boy succeeded to build an electric toy out of trash and broken pieces. The boy is only 13 years old and made his electric toy with old plastic pieces of an old car and electric motors. The news made international headlines, and hopefully his enthusiasm and intelligence won't remain unnoticed by people having the power to invest in him. Number 10. A Somali family received a £2 million council house in the UK. During the past several years, Somali people have fled the country in an attempt to escape the war and civil tensions happening on a regular basis in Somalia. Seeking other places to call home, some landed in the UK and even in America. One lucky family received a $2 million council house in London for them to start a new life there. The house is maintained out of tax money, and the family fit the criteria to deserve such a home. However, this sparked serious anger among citizens because there are also many UK families that don't have a house to live in and weren't fortunate enough to stay in such a place. The Somali family has 10 members and now lives in a 6-bedroom home close to Tony Blair's previous house that they have to pay £1,000 per month for. And Aluxers, if you want to find out some more about London, make sure to check out our 15 Things You Didn't Know About London video by clicking in the top right corner. Number 11. The Gulf Crisis affects Somalia too. As we mentioned, their vicinity with Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates puts Somalia right in the middle of the Gulf crisis. Last year, when the UAE broke ties with Qatar again, they threatened that if their allies, including Somalia, don't do the same, they will face the same fate. This was the third time when the UAE cut ties with Qatar. The newly formed government of Somalia was faced with a diplomatic situation they couldn't handle. For years, Somalia has been following the United Arab Emirates' footsteps, but it seems that this time they're faced with a more delicate situation. Number 12. The movie Black Hawk Down had an incident in Somalia as an inspiration. It sure looks like war and hero movies make the biggest bucks at the box office, and they sure reach fans' hearts in a different way. The movie portrays actual events happening in Somalia in 1993 during an army raid. It seems as if the US planned an attack on Somalia, but things didn't go as planned, and what was supposed to be a quick raid turned into a 2-day-long fight between Army Rangers, US Special Forces, and hundreds of Somali gunmen. Number 13. Many cities and industries in Somalia were made with foreign help. Having endured so much war and destruction, Somalia is now one of the poorest countries in the world. Some areas are still recovering, some are in ruins, and some are developing thanks to international help from humanitarian organizations. After the Civil War, a lot of countries offered to help Somalia rise from the ashes and become as economically independent as possible. Somalia is classified by the United Nations as an underdeveloped country with lots of political and economic issues, especially because everything they managed to build in their recent history was due to foreign help. Somalia will have a lot of perspectives if it gets its technology and political stability on point, with oil and gas to explore and all industries around it to develop. Number 14. Over 70% of Somalis live on less than $2 per day. According to Business Insider, Malawi, Ethiopia, and Eritrea are some of the poorest countries in the world. Compared to them, Somalia looks a little bit better, but the population there still lives at the edge of poverty in many areas. Up to 70% of the population lives with less than $2 per day. Their public health service was destroyed during the Civil War, so living with little money and having no access to healthcare doesn't give Somalia the best of chances to build a sustainable economy very soon. Number 15. In Somalia, you can find some of the oldest cave paintings. Somalia is not your usual vacation spot, as we keep telling you. The country doesn't own any Guinness Book of World Records, no UNESCO heritage sites or famous movie sets, just ruins and people walking with guns on the street. But they also have some of the oldest cave paintings in the world. If you decide to give this country a chance, you can do so through a few organizations and travel agencies that can help you cross the border and show you around. The trips have created excitement among Somalis as well as foreigners. Not a lot of people have the guts to visit this country, but those who do should be encouraged. And that was it for today, Aluxers. We hope you now understand a little bit more about this country. Now, before you go, as always, we're curious to know, what do you think about the extreme way women are treated in Somalia? And of course, for sticking with us all the way to the end, here's your bonus fact. Number 16. Some Somalis are real pirates. It turns out pirates do exist in modern days, and they actually live on ships and rob other people. Around 2005, Somali pirates started to attack international shipping vessels. The Somali government addressed the issue, but some believe they were working hand in hand with the pirates. Soon, Russia and India took the matters into their own hands, establishing maritime security patrols in the area of the Gulf of Aden, and since then the attacks have dropped significantly. Nowadays, they still do exist, but their influence and activity is, thankfully, much lower. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.